You're watching or listening to The Looking Forward Show on PhillyCam, WPPN LP, Philadelphia, 106.5 FM, or PhillyCam TV. You can also see us live streaming on Xfinity 66 and 966, on Bios TV 29 and 30, on Roku, Apple TV, and Facebook, as well as our YouTube channel. And now, here's your host, Jeffrey Abramowitz. In studio. Bill Hart was on, and he told us everything that we needed to know about the elections. That was our last show at PhillyCam, so we're really excited about today's show, and it's really about the journey of what we've experienced going through the criminal justice system, the challenges and barriers we want America to really see. So PhillyCam Radio is at WPPM LP, Philadelphia, 106.5 FM. It is, I can't say enough about our PhillyCam family here. And if you ever have an opportunity to come down, we're at 699 Ranstead Street in Philadelphia. PhillyCam is just this amazing organization that's doing some great work in really giving voice to people in the city of Philadelphia and actually around the country with the podcasts and all the expansive network that they have in getting some of our shows out. So thank you, PhillyCam, and the amazing staff that you have here, because you make doing the show a pleasure, and it's really fun. Looking forward is, I think we're just finishing up our 4th year and going on to our 5th year. Really excited to be here when we get to bring on tremendous guests, and we really are the center of where community meets justice. And we have these discussions, which are really sometimes hard to have, about really challenging issues. Most recently, we've been talking about gun violence in Philadelphia and around the country. And the ironic thing is, it's not just here in the city. You know, we think because we live in the city of Philadelphia, and we see it all the time on the news, but as I travel the country, I recognize that the gun violence is everywhere, and we have to come up with some answers, and we have to have some of these hard discussions on how to stop it. And honestly, I believe it starts with our youth and really centering on families and the way making people feel proud of where they are living and giving some hope for the future, a career pathway and other things. So a lot to be talked about in that space. We're going to be getting to that with our guest today. I will tell you that the vote and get out the vote's been really important. We saw it here in Philadelphia recently with a recent mayoral election, and we did not take a position on supporting any particular candidate. And it's always my belief that that unless we could have everybody on that was in the field, that I was not prepared to call out one person or another person, have them come in studio. But we did raise the issues of the importance of voting in an election and how truly important it is to have your vote count. Because as we've learned in prior presidential elections, sometimes it comes down to a few votes that could really make the difference in a national election and certainly in a local election. So I want to give a shout out to Bill Hart for our last show, because Bill was able to really tell us about his experiences working in politics and working in the political arena, and really how important the vote was for many of the races as he's participated in. He does active work with a good friend of ours, and the show is Sharif Street, and Senator Street's been a great friend of the show. He's been on a number of times sharing his views on politics and what's going on in our state of Pennsylvania and here in Philadelphia. So again, big shout out to Bill. If you haven't seen it, you can check us out. It's on our YouTube station, and Bill can be had some great comments. So the election's over, and now next things going on. We got the summer coming up. Looking forward to some great summer shows and catching up with some people. But we have a guest in house today, which I'm really excited about. Anton Henshaw is just a remarkable young person who is, to say that he's a guest, he's more than a guest. He's a friend, somebody that I've admired since I've come home, and I've just been waiting for the lane to launch a massive project with him. So we're going to get there soon enough. But we're going to take a really quick break, and when we come back, Anton Henshaw is in the house, and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Looking Forward Show. We are back at the Looking Forward Show, PhillyCam Radio, WPPM LP Philadelphia, 106.5 FM, and you can watch us on PhillyCam TV. And I have my friend Anton Henshaw in the house. How you doing?
I'm well.
We're going to get you real close to that mic because we want everybody hearing exactly what you have to say.
I am definitely well. I'm happy to be here with my brother. It's been a long time, man.
It's been a long time, and it's really I'm so glad you got to come in studio. We have so much to talk about today. Before we even begin, so I always do my homework when people come into my studio, so I know a little bit about them, a little bit more than I already knew about you. But I've heard you speak a number of times and got to catch up with you recently in an event at Princeton, and the world is so small. So many of our guests know I currently serve as the CEO of the PD Green program, which is an amazing program. But one of our key leaders in the program is Chiara Benitolo, and Chiara told me that she was actually your teacher at some point in time.
Yes, she was.
That's pretty crazy.
Yes,
she said to say hello and give you a hug. I ain't giving you a hug, but we'll definitely catch up. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about Anton and your story?
Well, like always, it's one of those. I don't like people feeling sorry for me, so I took the long road to get here. I served 100% of a 30-year to life sentence in New Jersey for a crime that happened in the city of Camden. I'm actually born and raised here in Philadelphia.
Where were you born?
I was born at the University of Penn Hospital, right there.
Where'd you live? Where'd you grow up?
Oh, I grew up in North Philly.
Okay, good.
Okay. Yeah, I grew up in North Philly. We lived in West Philly for a little bit, Wyalusing Avenue, 52nd and Girard. I grew up in North Philly, 17th and Allegheny, Toronto Street, Rush Street. My first memories are Park Avenue in Glenwood, right behind Joe Frazier's gym.
Wow, familiar.
Yeah, so that's, but my father, my mother and father divorced. My father moved to Camden, New Jersey, and took me and my older brother over to New Jersey. It was a cantankerous environment. Being from Philly and trying to grow up in Camden, you're not from there. Led it to a lot of scrapes and a lot of hardships, but it led me down a road and making choices. I served my time. I came home, and most people thought that when you come home that everything is normal. And that's when the real work begins, right? You're incapacitated. For me, 30 years, right? 3 decades. So in the streets, we say 3 summers. You sat down for 3 summers.
Yeah.
And now you come back out. And then, I left as a kid. So they're saying, going out there and fix your life. You did wonderful while you were here and everything is going to be okay. And then only to come home and find out that everything you've been taught while you were incarcerated about coming home was a lie.
Yeah, so go all the way back. So I'm curious, like, what grade were you in when you were incarcerated?
Um, I want to say at that time I had just made it to the 11th grade.
Wow. So how'd you do in school?
I was excellent in school. That was probably the only safe place that I ever had was school.
I knew you were smart. I didn't know
Yeah.
you were that smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that's the only time that I never really had any problems with school. Like, and in prison, that's what became my safe place.
Yeah. So tell me about your time away. So my audience knows I did some time away, and one of the things that I did was took that time to kind of learn like everything I could, like
Right.
1,000 books under my belt, read the Bible twice, did things I never expected to do, and then also taught a lot, taught all these classes.
Right.
So what inspired you? What got you going inside of prison?
So I remember, I never been incarcerated before. I never been in a juvenile facility, and then New Jersey is a very retributive state. It's very racist. People don't think that we're this far up north, but I remember going into orientation, and I met a man named Jerome Perkins, and I met the two brothers, the Sanabria brothers, Hector and Jesus Sanabria, that we call the Big New York and Little New York. And they were from Paterson, New Jersey, and Mr. Perkins was from Newark. And I don't know what it was, but they saw something in me different, and they asked me a question that they normally don't ask young guys coming in. And you got to remember, I was a little guy. I'm a bigger guy now. I was 5'4", 118 pounds, with no prior incarceration experience, and I was sent to Trenton State Prison.
Wow.
Right. And who sends a kid to Trenton State Prison like that? So they asked me in that orientation, what was I going to do? They asked me what you just asked me. What was the last grade I completed? Did I want to go to school? Did I want to go to the law library? Did I want to work on my case and get out of here and not come back? Or did I want to lift weights and play basketball and be like everybody else? I chose to go to school. And when I went to school, I graduated within 6 months
Wow.
of
Of getting your high school
getting a
diploma.
GED.
Wow. That's awesome.
And I graduated. I was a class valedictorian. So, and I got immediately into college. I didn't, growing up the way I grew up, I didn't think I was college material. It wasn't that I didn't think I was smart.
So hold on a second, because when you got sentenced, you were doing a bit, right?
Right.
You're gonna be down for a bit.
Right.
So you must have something must have clicked in you and said, I got to start right away doing
Right.
this, despite the fact that I may be down for a while.
Right. But it was the people that were around me. It was the community inside.
Yeah.
Right. So, like I used to ask my prison, Mr. Jerome Perkins, I call him, always say, you wouldn't have a Tone Henshaw without Jerome Perkins.
Nice.
Right. So my prison father, he was constantly on me, and I couldn't understand why. And I would always be like, why do you care? Like, what do you, he was like, I'd be like, I'm tired. I don't want to go to school. He always used to say, well, there'll be plenty enough time to sleep when we did.
Yeah.
Like, life is for the living. You got to get up. Like, and it was this routine. Like, he was constantly ingrained on me, and I didn't want to disappoint him.
Yeah.
Right. And I couldn't understand why he cared so much. And he would only say, like, he would never say that he loved me. He would never say that he cared about me. All he would say was, you're different.
Wow. To see somebody else, he saw in you what you didn't see in
Right.
yourself.
So he became that mirror.
Yeah.
And so in those places, like these stories, like your story, and like those are the good kind of stories. Everybody doesn't get that. That's not the norm. That is the outlier to all of this. But I was just blessed to be with him, Big New York, Little New York. Like every time I would get ready to do something crazy, or
They stop you.
they would be like,
Whoa.
they'd be like, Mr. Perk wants you. And I would always try to figure out, how did they know? How did Mr. Perk know? And it was his people, like the old heads that was with him, that was like, if you see him doing something, tell him that I want him.
So super good point, and I talk a lot about this when I go and talk to people, is that it's the old heads really that are the ones that have the greatest impact for the young people that go into the prison system.
Yes.
And that's why when we talk about education and working with people that are down for even life, those are the people that we should be thinking and bringing in to teach our classes
Yes.
and to tutor and to mentor people, because they're the ones sending that message that you need to stay out and get your head straight.
So those were the ones that we used to talk to the administrators about, that untapped resources, the natural resources that you already have within the system. Like, they never understood that. Like, you
Yeah.
have untapped natural resources right here, and you keep looking for money to pay for something that you already have right here.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Right. And then but in New Jersey, it was a little different because we took a public health approach. Right. We didn't. So everything inside is an argument against public safety or the safety of the orderly running of the institution. And we would say this would make the institution more healthy.
That's a great way of thinking about it. I don't think I even think about it enough from the health perspective.
Right.
And maybe it's because you just didn't get good health care inside of
No,
prison.
no.
Too. But mental health,
Right.
and behavioral health, definitely.
Behavioral
for
health,
sure.
and it's the same thing with the approach to what you started off with about gun violence, right? As long as you see gun violence as a public safety threat and don't see it as a public health threat, right? Violence is as a contagion. It's like a pathogen, like a virus, right? And when you look at it through a lens like that, it'll allow you to stop dehumanizing those that commit the violence, right? And stop, vilifying them and saying, like, what's going on?
Yeah. So it is the number one. So you think about cancer and heart disease and diabetes and all these it's the number one killer of young people today is gun
Yes.
violence.
Yes.
And that it's a great perspective and great way to think about it. So I have so much I want to get to, because it was in your journey in prison where I think where really you started to get life, like you began to figure it out.
right.
And I was so proud, because not only did you get your GED, but you didn't stop there.
No.
So tell us what happened after that.
So I got into a college program that was from being run through Mercer County Community College. And in that college program, I went through my first semester and I got A's. And I was like, wow, like, really? Like, I'm college material. And because I never thought about going to college. Like, I thought I would be dead at 18. So I go back to sign up, and they removed all the Pell Grant funding in the college. And
Oh
shut it down.
man, just in time.
Shut it down.
Wow.
So I'm going back and I'm going crazy. I finally found something that I'm good at, and I love it, and it made a big difference in my life. And it was gone. It was the Omnibus Crime Bill, the first and the second one. And when they went to this no-frills prison model throughout the country, I think at the time Christine Todd Whitman was the governor of New
Yep.
Jersey.
I remember.
And they just started pulling all the things that gave people hope and humanity away. And it took 28 years to get higher education back inside
Isn't that crazy?
New Jersey's prisons. So I happened, Sister Gail Muhammad from Women Who Never Give Up was coming in and volunteering. And
She does some work with us as well.
yeah,
She's awesome.
So, and she was teaching this workshop on how to write white papers for bills. And how bills get passed. So it was almost like a civic engagement workshop, and how bills get passed, how they get funded or not funded, and things like that. So we had these communities corrections working summit. So we had like 3 tracks. One of them was education. I forgot the other 2, but I was on the education track. So I wrote a white paper to make education mandatory in all New Jersey's prisons.
I love it.
And don't know what I'm doing. I'm just following the instructions of Gail Muhammad when she came in and volunteered. And she then invited the legislators inside the prison system. So they began to tour the prisons. And they toured about maybe 5 prisons. And at the time I was housed at Rahway State Prison, East Jersey State Prison. They don't call it that no more. When you hear how we really transformed that into an institution of higher learning, they call it Rahway University now.
Nice. I love it.
So then she's now Assemblywoman, U.S. Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, who represented Trenton at the time. She came in. Grace Spencer, Kohino, a lot of senators and assembly people came in, and we did the presentation. And the science was, you make people give up their DNA, mandatory. You make people register as sex offenders, mandatory. Why won't you make education mandatory in all of our prisons?
I love it. What was her reaction?
And they just was like, light bulbs came on, like, you know.
Hey, that's an easy lift, right?
Yeah. So, and then for the first time, and that was a way of getting education back. So with that, they really didn't understand why we wanted to make it mandatory, because we wanted to introduce the program of now getting higher education back
There
into
you
the
go.
prisons.
Yeah.
So that's how we piggybanked it back off of that. Margaret Atkins and a few others went out to get some funding, because the bill. I think at the time, Corzine and Chris Christie were running. Corzine took it for granted that he was going to be reelected. He didn't. Chris Christie was elected. And so Chris Christie, the bill was signed, but nobody funded it. So for the first time in the history of New Jersey, when it came to higher education, we developed a public-private partnership.
Nice.
With our sisters organizations that were in Edna Mahan and our male organizations, to get funding as a social experiment to see what would be the effects of higher education inside the carceral spaces in New Jersey. So Warren Buffett's sister from the Sunshine Ladies Foundation, they donated, they committed $2 million.
Wow.
To this social experiment. And then the Ford Foundation matched that $2 million with another $2 million. So
you're rolling now.
So we have $4 million. So here's the thing. In their mind, you know, it's a 2-year degree. It's an associate's degree in liberal arts, which is transferable to any 4-year university in the country.
Nice.
It has all the basic components to transfer into any, because we didn't want just regular people just taking classes. Mm-hmm. And what happened was, in their mind, you know, they're people that are incarcerated, so their minds are not like other people's minds. So we're going to give them 4 years to get a 2-year degree.
Yeah, wow.
Well, our first cohort, we graduated 63, the largest.
Wow, nice.
In the country. With an associate's degree in liberal arts. And of that 63, 45 graduated with honors.
That's amazing. So you graduated from that program. Did you go on and get your master's there?
No, I'm getting my master's now. I got my
BA
from the same program while I was inside. Graduated cum laude.
Look at you, man.
Rutgers Newark, while incarcerated.
I love it.
And then coming home, right when I graduated from Rutgers Newark, inside it was a justice studies degree in criminal justice. That's when social justice really hit. So our degree was centered around that. So when I come home, it was whether or not they were going to allow me onto Rutgers campus in Camden to get my master's degree.
Wow.
But it's crazy because I promised my elementary school principal, Miss Fenderson, for right around the corner from there, Cooper Point, that when I grew up, because we used to go there on the summers, and we would be on Rutgers Camden campus, and I always said to her, when I grow up, I'm gonna get a degree from here. So I will graduate with a degree, cum laude again, with Rutgers Camden this November.
That is awesome. So the awesomeness of Anton Henshaw really, we think, started behind the walls, but it's not until you got outside the walls that things really started to happen. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back with my good friend Anton Henshaw. Right back. We are back at the Looking Forward Show, Philly Cam Radio, WPPM LP, Philadelphia 106.5 FM, and on Philly Cam TV. We're here with my friend Anton Henshaw. So I just mentioned that what happened behind the walls was just a taste, a nibble of what was about to happen to you and to some of the amazing work that you've done. You came home, and our show really today is about the challenges that people face coming home. And can you just tell us, like, how difficult was it for you? You've been down the majority of your life, and all of a sudden you're coming back out. And how difficult was it to get back on your feet?
Well, the biggest part of the difficulty was the psychological adjustment, right? The world that you remember. So, I left in 1988 and I came back in 2018. So let's just put that in perspective. Wasn't no internet, wasn't no Google, wasn't no Amazon, right? You wasn't no cell phones or things like that. So family was remembering you before incarceration and during incarceration and not after incarceration. I remember feeling, and even now sometimes, I remember feeling alienated. I felt like I didn't belong. And then I began to translate that into this is what people that go back must feel on a more intense level.
Yeah. Well, you knew pretty much. You knew you weren't going to go back,
Right.
right?
That wasn't an option.
It wasn't going to be an option for you. And what was the biggest challenge you faced when you came home? Was it finding housing? Was it just basic figuring out how to use a cell phone?
No, the biggest hurdle was housing. Being almost homeless with $12,000 in the bank. Right. I didn't come home and didn't have a cushion. I stayed over 30 years. I worked in the law library for 28 years. And I did a lot of work. So I knew to save, I knew to have something. And when you come home and you have $12,000 in a bank account and it doesn't mean anything, it's like you don't have nothing. So I'm going to these places and I'm applying for housing, and the rental agency is no, 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 no. And I'm like, so one, I just like, after about 4 no's, I just said, listen, if you're going to tell me no, can you at least tell me why? And when they told me why, it was like crushing. Like, well, one, who are you? Remember, I left as a kid, so I never had a credit score. You learn then having no credit is worse than having bad credit.
This is true.
But at least having credit means you're in the system.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I always joke, but I think most dead people have credit higher than what I had when I went away, when I came home, just because I had a financial crime. And so most of my credit disappeared immediately upon my entry, and then didn't have any money coming home. So I didn't have any credit cards, didn't have anything at all. And credit does play a big role in getting housing.
Right.
And there are not a lot of people that are going to trust you coming home
Right.
to just, yeah, go ahead. You can pay this, no problem.
So another thing was I had no verifiable income.
So it's a catch-22, right? You don't have a job yet because you're just coming home. You probably, you have some education behind you now, but you also don't have a place to live.
Right.
So there's like a push and a pull trying to figure it out. So what came first? Was it the job or was it the housing?
It was the housing.
Okay.
So the housing. So I stayed with my sister for a little bit, and then again, you got that thing. You want to get out of the nest. You want to fly. So I put the pressure on myself. I didn't wait for. She was moving. She was moving to Delaware. I didn't wait until she was moving the date. Right. I think she was moving like 6 months out, but I gave myself 90 days. So I put the pressure on me and on my network and say, it was like, well, Anton Henshaw is about to be homeless. How is that happening after all of the stuff that he's done and things like that? So what I was able to do was I applied to grad school. And when I applied to grad school, I got my award letter for my tuition.
Got it.
And I was able to leverage that with a rental agency that I could cover it.
I love it.
So it was outside of that traditional box.
So you're just a
thinking.
college student looking for a place to live. You got the letter saying, "Here's my tuition." Right.
Like, so this is the money that I'm getting. This is what I got. But I had the money. So I had the actual bank statement on top of the money coming from for school. So I had double to what I did. But I went to him and I talked to the man, Mr. Joseph Adavaj, from JVS rental agency out in Maple Shade. And I just told him, I was like, listen, I'm not asking for a chance. I'm asking for an opportunity. I said, I don't want you to feel like you're taking a risk on me. You know what I mean? Here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to give you 6 months rent up front. And he just looked at me. He said, that's not even going to be necessary. He said, give me 2 days and I'll call you back. And I said, well, listen, I said, a lot of people say they're going to call me back and don't call me back. I'm like, those 2 days are critical to my, at the time it was January 19th timeline. And he was like, I said, so if you're not going to do it, please make sure you either text me or let me know. So in the 2 days he called me and he was like, listen, man, he was like, I appreciate your honesty. I want to help you.
Nice.
And he gave me, matter of fact, I'm still in the apartment now.
Oh, there you go.
And the beautiful thing about it is that, like, when he calls and him and I talk, it's like he told me something over COVID. He was like, do you know? He said, can you find like 10 more people like you for this building? And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, do you know you're the only person that paid your rent every month on time through COVID?
Wow.
And like in my
impressive.
mind, it never dawned on me to never not pay my rent because, again, the economy of favors.
Yeah.
If somebody does something like I don't want to ever let him down.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't think there's enough landlords out there that get it, that some of the best tenants, I mean, even my tenants. So my style was a little different. When I went to get an apartment, I didn't have credit and I had a hard time. What I did was I wrote a letter about my story. And when I filled out the application, I said to the lady, I said, here's my application and here's a letter. Can you just give the letter to your manager when you get my credit check back, and then have him call me and we could talk about it. And I had my story. I wrote my story out for him, and he called me back and he said, "Look, I appreciate the letter, and I know your credit score really isn't very good." But he said, I said, "Look, all I want is 30 days." I said, "Give me 30 days and try it out. And if you're not happy after 30 days, then we can talk about it again." Mm-hmm. And then 30 days turned into a 6-month lease, turned into a 1-year lease, turned into a 3-year lease, and you're off to the races. Okay. But it would never have occurred to me to back out. Somebody's given me that kind of opportunity to not fulfill or live up to the expectation. Right. So you got the housing, and I guess the thing and the way I met you, I guess, was doing reentry work.
Right.
Tell us, how did you get started with doing reentry work and really helping those that were so similarly situated to you?
Well, because reentry was failing us in New Jersey. So my thing was to be a difference maker and really be to bring people that tell real stories about what it's really like about coming home. So you have a lot of people in a lot of orgs throwing money at situations and thinking that money is going to fix it. And money helps, but it doesn't fix like the roots of this. So this is why you'll always hear me, and there's no knock on reentry or people that use the term reentry, right? Reentry is a fad term. Is really like, what am I reentering? Yeah. What I came back to doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think to me, it's just a point in time.
Right.
It's just a point in time when one door closes, another one opens up, and you begin again.
So we created New Entry, right? So that was the whole concept of creating coming home and everything begins anew. Like, this is a new beginning. This is the Jubilee that you read about in the Bible. Yeah. We're welcoming people back. We're doing all this stuff. So when people started watching what we were doing, and I would tell, my brothers and sisters that were coming home, we're like, well, what would you need, right? Let's teach these organizations how to effectively do what we do. And how we are going to be successful coming home. And I got to meet Sharon. I got to meet Rosie. I got to meet Warden Taylor.
So they're all from Camden County.
Yeah, Camden
Jail.
County Jail. And we began to have an honest discussion, right? And I'm saying like, yeah, you got food kitchens, you got food. I said, but if he living under the bridge on Fifth Street, what does the food do? He can't fix it.
Yeah.
Where's he going to put it? Where's she's going to put it? Right? How are you going to help this woman get her kids back? She's been gone 5 years.
Yeah, so that's how. So I met you through Sharon. My first when they had just started the coalition over in Camden County, and I actually think we had some run-ins before, helping some mutual people. I was doing some reentry work in Philly, and New Entry Opportunity Specialists, call it NAS, is just an amazing organization. But it is a total package. I mean, that's the one thing that I think surprised me most, and I want to talk about this because I still can't get this out of my head. I use the term all the time, but when I first met you, you were we were at an event, and you said, "I gotta go, man. I gotta go. I gotta meet somebody at the gate." And I was like, "Man, what are you talking about?" He says, "Yeah, I gotta go meet somebody at the gate." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And you built into your program
Right.
the theory of meeting people as they walk out the door and greet them with a handshake, a hug, a welcome home. What do you need? I'm taking you where you need to be.
Right. So meet him at the gate. Everything is connected to a lived and a shared experience. After 30 years, I walked out of a VOA program halfway back on Liberty Street in Camden, and nobody was there.
Wow.
It is the most sinking feeling. Like, and I started thinking about other people. I wasn't just thinking like I always connected it to other people. Like, am I the only one, or I know there's other people feeling like this? And my sister and my family only lived 10 blocks away. So, and I'm telling them they're going to let me out of this place after 30 years at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm outside with my bag of clothes and my stuff, and nobody's there. So I pull out my cell phone. They allowed you to have cell phones at this program. And I called my sister, and I was like, "Where you at?" And she was like, "Oh, they let you out?" I said, "I told you they were letting me out at 7."
She thought you were joking.
Yeah. So she came, pull up. I put the stuff in the car, went home, and I never forgot that. But then when I got around guys that I did time with, I asked them about coming home and what did
Yeah.
it feel like. And we all sat there. I remember we were sitting in the EOF at Rutgers Camden, and we were talking about this. And everybody felt like lonely. They felt ashamed. They didn't feel anything. So I just said out loud, "Nobody coming home alone."
Yeah, I just love that, man. I think that is the greatest thing. So my daughter picked me up after doing time, and I remember the first thing. First of all, I was afraid of walking out the front door. Like I was afraid of what was going to happen if I walked out. But I walked out the front door with her, and we stopped about a mile from where I was, USP Canaan, and there are beautiful mountains there. I said, "Just pull over for a second." And she pulled over, and I looked back at where the prison was, and promised myself I was never going back there again. But the realization of what just happened, that journey all started. Now I had my daughter with me, but she took me to a halfway house and a homeless shelter when I came home.
Right.
I needed to figure it out on my own. But I remember going into the halfway house and the shelter, and they took all the things that I brought with them. They told me we were okay. So I literally had nothing in the shelter. Some guys gave me some soap and other things that I needed. But how would I have appreciated somebody just to be with me, walking through and saying, "Hey, welcome here, and
Yeah.
here's some stuff you might need."
Right.
And I remember even inside, there was a humanity. Whenever there's a new guy on our block, he always got a package.
Right.
He always got a bag of stuff. Get him started. Let him know this is going to be your home for a while. So here you go. And it just didn't happen when you came home.
Community. Right?
Yeah.
So but here's the difference where it's crazy that something that starts so genuine and so loving and is building community out here, right? Having that same feeling that you had when you come in. It's that welcome package. So we call the bags that we give out when people come out of the gate. We partner with Fountain Baptist Church and a couple of other churches, the AME churches, and they contribute to these bags with all the basic necessities in there, right? We buy them 2 weeks worth of clothes.
That's awesome.
Right. We give them a couple gift cards and some cash. We're working on cell phones. So the goal was to get this to $1,000 a bag.
Seriously.
To get it to $1,000 a bag.
Wow. What are you at now?
So we're at $750.
Oh, I gotta start making some donations there.
$750. Now here's the beautiful part. People was thinking that we were just popping up and meeting people at the gate. They didn't understand that it was a whole process.
Oh yeah.
Right. So where we have our inside ambassadors.
Yeah.
So our insider ambassadors are saying, yeah, we got a kid coming home in the next couple of weeks, Delbridge. So he'll get with one of our coordinators, but already have been working with him through the parole process. So
see, that's where it happens.
it
inside
starts
out,
way before the person is coming home.
Yeah. It's not like you're getting a call at 5 o'clock.
No.
Yeah, at 6:30 somebody's
No,
coming
no.
home. I mean, this is a whole process of reintegration
Right.
that's starting
So
really early.
It's about doing a needs assessment with that inside ambassador. Well, what do they need, right?
Yeah.
So I got a couple of guys that tried to do what we do up north, and here's how it's wrong, right? So the guy comes home, and they come out, they pick him up, and they take him to get something to eat, and then they drop him off at a homeless shelter. That's not new entry.
Yeah.
No. The thing is that we're supposed to know before he comes home if housing is a what we call a pop-up barrier. And we're supposed to be able to take and with enough time, right? This is why we don't do just, oh, he's coming home tomorrow. Then it's like the odds of that success, not saying that don't help the person, but the odds of that being successful greatly decreases based on the time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the more you get a chance to work with somebody and get them prepared for coming home and what they need, getting that Gmail account and making sure they have a phone and all those things that go into that package. And it's a lot.
So for us, we'll meet them at the gate. So if we got time, the highest our guys, one of our guys is right now we waiting in court, Morris Jackman, aka Black Thought.
I love it.
He's already surpassed me where I was when I came home.
Wow.
And he's not even home yet, right? He still has a little time to do. We're waiting on his court case, but he already has a 765 credit score.
Wow.
So the things that we already know that are being away,
You're doing way before they even get out.
he comes
Yeah,
home.
that's just crazy. So now you guys in the listening audience, you know why this guy's such a rock star. It's an incredible program. If somebody wanted to get information on New Entry Opportunity Specialists and NOS, how could they find out about you guys? Let's say I have somebody in my family maybe coming out or they want to connect with you.
So right now we're working through Camden County. You can just put NOS. Or New Entry Opportunity Specialist. It's NUENTRY Opportunity Specialist for Camden County, and we're going to come up.
Yeah, for sure. So really easy to do. I Googled this morning because I wanted to pull up some articles and stuff on you. I stopped when I realized how many there were.
Yeah.
There's like, yeah.
And that's just what you probably was picking up. That's not even counting the stuff that was inside.
Yeah, I have to tell you, first of all, you speak a lot in public, and I've had the chance to not only be on panels with you, but to speak with you and to see you, and it's so impactful. Your story is so impactful. And I always say, in the work that we do, people don't remember a lot of the content that we give them, but they remember the stories. They remember the young guy who started off as a teenager and graduated, inside of an institution and went on to get his master's degree and now is touching thousands of lives. So I'm just curious. I do track this because I've been doing the reentry stuff since I've been home. But of the men and women that have filtered through my program, I venture probably over 10,000 today. I have to imagine you're 3 or 4 times that. Because you just are out there. You just know everybody. Everybody knows you. And how do you do it all? How do you keep all the balls in the air?
It's a part of my emotional and my mental health, right? I'm on life parole, so right now we're trying to end slavery in our state constitution over in New Jersey. I think you guys are getting ready to start over here. We're
Yeah.
getting ready to start helping you guys over here.
Yep.
It is in the work, right? So we have a saying, right? Our crew is called Team Work Hard. So everything that we do is on the work, right? So it's if you stay engrossed in the work, then all the stuff that comes at you can't get you
I love it.
because you're too busy working.
Yeah.
So, and what I tell people all the time is that once I came home and I went and I realized that something was off, and I went to treatment and I went to therapy, and I learned that I was suffering from depression, anxiety, um, uh, and it was a third thing, um, uh, that I was suffering from survivor's guilt.
Ah.
That I once I went to treatment and with therapy and started talking to the therapist, and he was like, "You feel guilty for surviving something that was like the administrators was telling me that you're going to die here."
Yeah, so I got to tell you, that is probably the biggest struggle that I've had coming home. And it wasn't only, I've been home, I'll be home 8 years in September, but it was only within the last 2 years or maybe 2.5 years that I actually forgave myself.
Right.
And I think that's one of the biggest challenges people face
Yes.
coming home, because you live with that. And I always do say, I think the sentence that I've given myself, the sentence the judge gave me was nothing compared to what it gave myself. Like, I gave myself a life sentence where I deal with this all the time.
Right.
I live with it. I'll always be 617-640-66, and so a piece of me, it's who I am. But letting go of that and realizing, I got nothing to be ashamed of anymore. I've done some great work, and so have you. You've been just amazing what you've given back to the community and what you've provided to so many that are coming home, and you really should be proud of it.
Yes, that's the hard part, right? And people like in the community, we want you to really understand what Jeff just said. It is us forgiving ourselves,
Yeah.
right? It's the hardest work, but we also say in the work that we do, our service is our redemption.
Yeah. True
Right.
too.
Right. So, and it's in our service, like we're redeeming ourselves. We're gaining back pieces of the humanity that were being attempted to be stolen from us, or just for us to recognize them. They never left us. But
Yeah.
when somebody is telling you you're never leaving here on your feet, you're leaving here on your back with a tag on your toe, and these are people that are in charge of you
I know. It's crazy.
and saying this stuff. So for me, and then here was the irony. When I got parole, the same administrator that wished me dead took credit for my release. Another one of my good guys is going home.
Yeah.
You just wished me dead 6 months ago.
Yeah, I just think that there needs to be humanity brought back into our justice system, our criminal justice system, in particular in our correctional environment. And, with 95% plus men and women that are incarcerated coming home someday, we should recognize that they're all human. Everyone's human. And that, people deserve to be treated with a sense of dignity and respect, no matter what crime you've committed, what choice you've made in life that's gotten you there. Just that humanity factor. We're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, I'm going to be asking Stevie Wonder next to me. Actually, you look like Stevie Wonder with the glasses on. Antone Henshaw's in the house. We're going to be right back. We are back at the Looking Forward Show. Anton Henshaw is with us, and you're listening to Philly Cam Radio, WPPM LP, Philadelphia 106.5 FM, and you can find us on Philly Cam TV, live streaming on Xfinity and Vios, Roku, Apple TV, and on our YouTube channel. Anton, you just you got an amazing story, and I guess I want to take the last segment of the show to really talk about the secret sauce. So what is it, the secret sauce? What is it that, so both of us have like transitioned well. We've landed on our feet. I think we struggle with some issues coming home. We all do. But what is it that we can impart on people that's the secret sauce? What is it that really you was your guiding force?
The secret sauce is making a commitment, right? And a commitment is going backwards is not an option. You hear people say plan B, plan C, forget all that, right? Some of this you got to build the plane as you're flying it, right? There's no blueprint for each one of us. The blueprint is different. Like we have, a saying in the movement, my measuring cups are not going to work in your kitchen.
It's so true.
Right?
It's a great saying.
It's not going to work in your kitchen, right? It's your kitchen. You got your own cups in there, right? You got your own flour and things like that. Now, we both can be in the same kitchen together and help each other and guide each other. But I got to let you measure based on what you've been through.
Yeah, so for me it's a little different, but I appreciate that. I think that's a great, tremendous answer. For me, it was actually really about self-responsibility.
Right.
Like I'm responsible for everything today. Like I walk down the street, I see a homeless person, like I got to engage. Like how can I help you? What can I do? Where can I get to resources? But it was self-responsibility for myself too. I think too often men and women come home and it becomes the blame game. It's like, well, I didn't get that opportunity because I was a convicted felon, or I didn't get the opportunity because I didn't have credit or whatever. Instead of really looking internally and saying, well, what could I do to change that? Like, what did I learn from that experience that could get me out of it, that can be stronger? And oftentimes, especially with careers and jobs, a lot of people say, I didn't get it because of my record. Well, what do you need to do to change that?
Correct.
And maybe you're either not looking at the right place, talking to the right people, have the right education, have the right training. Like, what is it you need to do to really center on that? And I really tell people that it's a marathon, not a sprint.
But it goes to what you're saying, that centers in that secret sauce of mindset. Right? It's really about the mindset of a lot of people, like, you got to understand, Jeff, we're outliers. Like, you're not going to find a lot of people like us. Right? But we can mentor people to be self-starters, self-motivators, and things like that. Understanding what they have in their kitchen, what they're cooking with.
So why are we the outliers, though, and why aren't there more like us? I can't believe, I grew up from some white privilege, right? I grew up being white, not being in the justice system. You grew up in a way different world,
Right.
but why are we the outliers? Why can't this be the norm and not the exception? Is it the system that needs to be changed? Is it more from the outside inside, or you do it from the inside out?
But it's about that intrinsically being driven, and then it's understanding what we're up against. Right? Some people don't even know what they're fighting against.
Yeah.
Right? So I tell my little brothers, right? One of my little brothers just did something that's, just crazy. And I told him, I said, I said what I said to you and let you make your own choice as opposed to making you make a decision.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because at the end of the day, you're going to have to live with the consequences. And I didn't want you, because you beating your own ass. And I didn't want you to feel like me and you were jumping you.
I get it.
And
Well, you would have loved to have said it to keep him from making that choice, though.
But again, as soon as he walks away, your influence is only as strong as a person's commitment to following that influence.
I agree with that. I
Right.
agree. And so that's why I really have an aversion to talking about second chances and the
Right.
term second chances.
that.
because the truth is a lot of people we work with never had first chances.
Right.
And why stop at 2? Like, how
Right.
about 3, 4, 5? When they got to be ready. People have to be ready for what's coming out and what they're going to be facing. And the more that we can get them smarter inside the walls and get them thinking about education and their ability and giving them the confidence really to know that they could be successful on the outside and that there's something for them that can lead them into a better life. The more that we can think about doing those kinds of things, the better we are. But as a society, I don't believe this is a one and done. I don't think that NAS, as great as you guys are in the work that you do, I don't think that you alone can do it. I think it takes all the colleges that are out there.
Yes.
It takes all the educators out there. It takes the communities that are out there. How many churches do you guys partner with, just to do this work?
There's so many. I forget all of their names, but one key thing to what you're saying that's very important, Jeff, is us working in a way to where we're providing opportunities and not chances, right? And opportunities, right? Whether one steps through and they miss them, that opportunity may never come around, but it doesn't mean that more opportunities are not going to come. And that's where I think we don't look at. I look at people coming home the same way one would look at somebody that was struggling with substance abuse.
Yeah.
Right? It's a part of the relapse. It's a part of getting them back on track. But what kind of mistakes are we willing to accept and help them move through? So with Meet 'em at the Gate, I don't know why this is, right? I don't know why it is. But not one person we met at the gate has gone back to prison.
So that's the most remarkable statistic out of all of this, is to repeat that again. Not a single person you guys have worked with has gone back. So just understand, in our country, recidivism rate is about 66% plus around the country. That's 2/3 of the men and women going out of prison will find their way back inside within 3 to 5 years. And you got zero.
Zero. I don't know why. But again, it goes to what Miss Marcy says: developing real relationships, not just with the individual, but with their family.
Yeah. So it is. I told you, it's a village, man. It's a family. It's everyone in the community. It's all those partners that are doing good work, and it's working with the person in real time and also understanding those challenges. And the one thing I often say, I was on a bunch of calls today with some people, and they different programs, and I was like, do you have anyone that Justice Impacted that works with you? Like, and they're running these programs. Like, no. I'm like, what we need to do is we need to wear the glasses of people that have walked in our shoes, and that really understand the challenges coming home, and peer mentoring, what you do at NAS, and really understanding those challenges from the ground up is so important. And to get really frustrated when I talk to some politicians and legislators who try to legislate from their office and think that they really understand what's going on in the streets. And the truth is that they don't. And if they just for one day put those glasses on and really try to understand what it was like going through the justice system or the criminal justice system or the injustice system and trying to figure it all out. We had a minute or two left, but I'm curious if people want to get in touch with new entry opportunity specialists, NAS. Tell us how we go there. How do we get some support?
You just go to the Camden County website, and you type in NOS, and it'll come up, and it's a portal there for any information that you want to put in, and it will be forwarded through our contacts at the Camden County Jail, and we'll just go from there, and we'll start building those relationships from there.
I love it. Anton, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hang in there for a minute. We're going to, the show, honestly, is all about where justice meets community, and there can be no better show that really stands for that than having Anton Henshaw and the work you're doing in the community. Thank you for everything. And a big shout out to Sharon and Sharon Bean at the Camden County Jail, and Rosie Arroyo and all of the staff there, including the warden. They're really stepping up, and they're trying to make change happen in a really meaningful way. And thank you again for your friendship, because everywhere I bump into you, and I'm glad that we have we're trying to do good work, and I know eventually we're gonna hit a home run together on some programming, but we'll get there. We'll get there gradually.
I've been trying to come home for 2 years, man.
I know it, man. I know it. So you've been listening to the Looking Forward show. We're going to be back in a few weeks with another great show. If you want to listen to us, check us out on Philly Cam Radio, WPPM LP Philadelphia 106.5. The best way to get us is really on our YouTube channel, the Looking Forward show. Check us out. We're really excited. Our audience is growing. We got a lot of strong guests coming up, and we'll be back in a few weeks. We'll see you soon. You've been watching or listening to the Looking Forward Show with Jeffrey Abramowitz. You can listen to us on Philly Cam Radio at WPPM LP Philadelphia 106.5 FM or Philly Cam TV. We're live streamed at Xfinity 66 and 966, Fios TV 29 and 30, Roku, Apple TV, Facebook, or check us out on our YouTube, The Looking Forward Show channel. If you need to reach The Looking Forward Show, you can reach us at lookingforwardshow@gmail.com.